Hello and welcome back to Obas Trending Gist, your channel for no hold barred analysis of the issues that matters. Today, we are tackling a topic that has everyone talking and has split opinions right down the middle. So, President Bola Tinubu's frequent international travels. On one hand, you have a large and vocal segment of the population, powerfully articulated by former presidential candidate Peter Obi, who sees these trips as a tone deaf and insensitive while the nation bleeds from economic hardship and insecurity. Obi's argument is straightforward. Nigeria is a nation in crisis, and its leaders should be on ground, in the thick of it, not touring the globe. He paints a picture of a tourist president indifferent to the suffering of his people. But on the other hand, you have the administration and its supporters like Dr. Olasunkade Azeez, president of the Institute of Leadership, Coaching and Strategy, argued that these are not leisurely jamborees. They claim these trips are vital diplomatic mission to attract the foreign investment needed to fix the very problem critics are pointing to. So, who is right? Are these trips a necessary evil for long-term gain or a dereliction of duty in a time of crisis? Let us first hear the argument in defense of the president. This is what Dr. Aziz had to say on Arise News. So sit back and take a watch.
For me, though I'm not for government, and I most sincerely thank Arise actually for having this kind of program, and I know government are actually watching, concerned Nigerians are equally watching. You know, basically, I won't say it's galvanizing, because there are some parameters we may actually look for or look towards. One, from the available records, we learned that direct foreign investment has actually risen up to 50 billion US dollar. We were told that, and it was actually attributed towards him going around showcasing the effectiveness of his diplomatic efforts towards marketing Nigeria, towards telling the world where they need to actually come to Nigerian aid in terms of various sectors, including power sector, infrastructure, manufacturing, financial system, and what have you. The other aspect I actually need to look at is a global partnership. You all agree with me that no government can actually run alone. No government. You actually, in the international community, we need trade with other countries of the world. And in doing that, basically, they go a long way to help us. So him going there actually provides us with the opportunity, window of opportunity, for what I call global partnership with all these countries I've mentioned earlier on, the China of this world, Dubai of this world, now is in Japan with a stopover in UAE. It's not going there for holiday. It's not going there for jamboree. It is expected that something will surely come out of this. Not only this, you will agree with me that the president has actually talked about climate diplomacy in terms of how we need to consistently rate Nigerian environmental concern, such as rising sea levels, climatic change on global platform, advocating the increase in accessing to climate finance across the globe. All this go a long way to really help the country. So I wouldn't say he is galvanizing. The only thing is government should also come out on what they have done, and each of their agreement they sign with foreign countries. Foreign minister and embassy or ambassador of each country should always give us a feedback or the follow-up and follow-through.
Yeah, but after more than 2 years, we have not appointed ambassadors under his watch. And
Well,
we are talking of the gains of international diplomacy.
Well, that might be a vacuum on its own, but that does not mean that there's no embassy.
Yeah.
And they have people across, the trade section we have its own, diplomatic section, economic, and what have you. All those go a long way. And I think it also be proper for us to appeal to the president that we need ambassador so that they'll be able to collate and coordinate all what have been achieved in form of gain.
All right, welcome back. Analyzing the defense, billions in investment or just pledges. So, Dr. Aziz made a compelling case. He argues that President Tinubu's travel are not for show, but are calculated efforts to make Nigeria and secure global partnership. The headline figure he throws out is a staggering $50 billion in direct foreign investment (FDI). He claims this influx of cash is a direct result of the president's diplomatic effort and is targeted at critical sectors like power, infrastructure, manufacturing, and finance. Now, that $50 billion figure is crucial. Is it real? Well, the reality is a bit more complex. The presidency has indeed announced that the president's travels has attracted over $50 billion in investment commitments or pledges. This includes significant announcements like a $14 billion commitment from the Indian investors during the G20 summit and other multi-billion-dollar pledges from companies like ExxonMobil and Shell. However, there's a huge difference between a pledge and actual realized investment. Recent data from Nigeria's own National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) and the central bank shows a concerning trend. In the first quarter of 2025, actual FDI in Nigeria saw a sharp quarter-on-quarter drop about 70%, while total capital importation rose. The bulk of it was in short-term portfolio investment, what some call hot money, rather than long-term direct investment that builds factories and creates sustainable jobs. In fact, official data for 2024 showed a 42.3% fall in FDI to just over $1 billion, despite the announced pledge. So, while Dr. Azeez is right that the president is securing commitments, the translation of these promises into hard cash flowing into the economy has been slow, leaving many to question their substance. This brings us to the powerful critique written by Peter Obi. He calls the president a tourist and the chief executive of a troubled nation who should have a strict work schedule that reflects the crisis at hand. His argument is visceral because it speaks to what people see: economic hardship, rising insecurity, and a president who, as Obi claims, has spent a significant amount of time abroad. Obi's critique focuses on priorities. He argues that a 12-day trip for an event that lasts 3 days is excessive for a leader of a country on fire. He insists that the president's time will be better spent touring Nigeria's troubled state to gain first-hand knowledge of the people's suffering. Now, let's address the big question head-on. First, does Nigeria need global partners? Absolutely. No nation is an island. In today's world, economic growth is inextricably linked to foreign trade, investment, and diplomatic relations. To suggest Nigeria should shut its doors would be to advocate for economic suicide. Second, critiquing Obi's stance. Would he, as president, not travel? This is highly unlikely. Any Nigerian president must engage in international diplomacy. The core of Obi's argument isn't against traveling itself, but against the style of travel, its frequency, prolonged duration, and perceived lack of immediate tangible returns. The criticism is about accountability and priorities. Obi's claim that the trip yields little or no tangible value is his strongest and most debatable point. While the FDI data shows a gap between pledges and reality, it is hard to argue the value is zero. Securing a 14 billion pledge from Indian companies is not nothing, even if its realization is slow. The real issue then is one of communication and results. The unavoidable balancing act. Ultimately, this is a classic governance dilemma, balancing urgent domestic need with essential long-term foreign policy. Peter Obi gives voice to the immediate pain and frustration of millions of Nigeria who wants to see their leader at home, wrestling with their problems. Dr. Azeez represents the government position that the solution to this very problem lie in part beyond our borders. Both sides have a point. The present travel are not inherently wrong. In fact, they are a necessary part of the job. However, in a country facing such profound challenges, the administration must do a far better job of justifying these trips. They must be transparent about the cost. They must be diligent in following up on investment pledges to turn them into reality. And most importantly, they must connect the dots for the average Nigerian, explaining how a meeting in Japan or Brazil will eventually lead to a more secure and prosperous life in Nigeria. Until that happens, the perception of a tourist president will persist, no matter how many partnership agreements are signed. That's my take. What's yours? Is the president's shuttle diplomacy a necessary strategy for future growth or a neglect of present crisis? Drop your thoughts in the comment below. And if you found this analysis insightful, Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Obas Trending Gist. Thanks for watching.